our Norfolk coast and the wildlife it supports. Higher levels of seawater threaten freshwater areas. Many of our rarest freshwater habitats rely on a steady supply of groundwater, and this is now at risk. But how is climate change affecting bird populations? It is thought that climate change is causing a northwards shift of bird species of about 11 kilometres per decade. Roughly half of the UK's bird species have already been affected by climate change, about a quarter declining and a quarter increasing in numbers, while half of our species, like the mute swan, remain so far unaffected. Warmer winters have made breeding easier for many birds that winter here, including the grey heron. Moorhen, coot, and Chetty's warbler have also benefited. Robins are more common, benefiting from milder winters and, like other garden birds, from more people feeding them. Birds of prey, especially the common buzzard, have been increasing, and it is possible that warmer temperatures are in part responsible. In 1971, there was only one nesting female marsh harrier in the UK. Today, after decades of conservation effort, there are nearly 400 pairs. Although they are traditionally migrating birds, some are now choosing to stay during our warmer winters. Avocets were extinct in the UK during the 19th century, but during the Second World War, coastal areas were flooded in East Anglia for defence reasons, providing avocets with perfect breeding grounds, and their numbers greatly increased. To what degree this increase is partly due to climate change is not clear. Certainly, there has been much work to create suitable habitats for avocets to live and breed in. The black-tailed godwit is now an endangered species, which does not seem to be adapting to changing climate. Spring arrives earlier than 40 years ago, and many breeds of birds have adapted to breed earlier. But black godwits do not seem to be making the change sufficiently quickly. They make their nests on the ground, and chicks are still in their nests when farmers cut the grass, and they lack the long grass to feed and hide in. Wildlife trusts are working to mitigate the impacts of climate change. Kevin Hart, Director of Conservation for Norfolk Wildlife Trust, said, "It is crucial we act now to help wildlife gradually adapt to our changing climate to avoid catastrophic losses of critical habitats that support species, including bittern, marsh harrier, and water vole. By carefully increasing Clyde's short-term resilience to sea level rise, we are buying wildlife time as we create replacement habitat further inland. In partnership with the Environment Agency, Norfolk Wildlife Trust is creating several inland freshwater wetland habitats as compensation for their inevitable loss along the East Anglian coast." Shelduck have become more numerous, but this is probably more to do with habitat restoration than climate change. However, during their migrations, they may be at risk of collision with wind farms. A study is being undertaken to see if constructing new sources of renewable energy in the sea really is a danger to birds. Black-headed gulls are more common, but this does not seem to relate to a changing climate. Before the Second World War, huge numbers of their eggs were sold at Leadenhall Market. Increasing temperatures have brought birds from more southern climes to the UK. Once rare little egrets are now more common. Great white egrets are thought to be more common owing to a combination of warming climate, habit restoration, and creation. The same is true of spoonbills. This year, the appearance of a group of 7 bee-eaters on the Norfolk coast is perhaps a sign of how far climate change has already progressed, coinciding with temperatures of over 40 degrees centigrade in the UK for the first time. But other birds are not flourishing. Though warmer winters might benefit our barn owls, more extreme weather events, extreme winter freezes, summer heat waves, droughts, and torrential rain do not. Neither do their main prey, voles, common shrews, flourish with disrupted weather patterns and warmer conditions. Lapwings have suffered historical declines, and a factor seems to be the drying mud where they feed in the uplands during the breeding season. Hot, dry summers reduce the abundance of soil-dwelling invertebrates such as earthworms and craneflies. Curlews also breed in the uplands and suffer from the same decline in food sources. Buick swans are appearing less in the UK. They are migrating birds which spend the summer in Arctic Russia and winter in Northern Europe. With climate change, they are travelling less far for the summers and less frequently get as far as the UK. Pink-footed geese actually create CO2. Each bird is responsible for more than 100 kilograms of carbon dioxide emissions each year. They free the carbon from the ground when they grub around in the Arctic soil for food. However, this carbon is minute when compared with the total globe carbon picture. Seabirds have especially suffered, with warming seas disrupting marine food webs. Cormorants have declined. The warming seas have damaged their fish supplies, and more frequent storms have also had an effect. Colonies of sand eels, a food source birds feed to their young, have become much smaller. The increased number and severity of storms kill adult birds. Seabirds that lay nests on the shore, like terns, suffer from increased flooding. High spring tides wash their nests away. The herring gull is a red-listed bird due to overfishing and climate change reducing their food supply. One of the reasons gulls are so common in towns now is that finding food at the coast has become more difficult. Migratory birds are some of the species most affected by climate change and are declining widely all over the globe. Some have taken to migrating less far or not migrating at all. Little terns, which spend their winters in Africa, declined by 40% between 1986 and 2018. This is thought to be due to habitat disturbance, predation, and food shortages, as well as extreme weather conditions due to climate change. Arctic terns have the longest migration routes of any species on the planet. They live a life of constant summer, traveling between Arctic and subarctic summers, all the way 6 months later to the summer Antarctic coasts. These terns are thought to be suffering due to the decrease in their main foodstuff there, krill. Krill do not flourish in the now warmer Antarctic seas. Global climate change directly affects the birds of Cley. The wildlife trusts are working to preserve and create new habitats. And it is true that some changes have brought short-term benefits in terms of new bird species appearing locally. However, the long-term future is extremely worrying. The unique richness of bird life at Cley can be preserved only through genuine commitment to reduction of carbon emissions. In this, Every one of us must play our part.